And I'm the Deputy Coordinator of the Global Bioenergy Partnership, whose Secretariat is hosted here in FAO as part of the Energy team in the Office of Climate Change, Environment and Biodiversity. Welcome to this side event of the 51st Committee on Food Security on promoting energy access to safeguard food security and nutrition gains within the agri-food systems and beyond, which has been jointly organised by FAO, World Food Programme and the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS. I would like to sincerely thank my colleagues, Federica Andrea Manatena, Federico Remonda, Bassao, Matteo Milani, Tiziano Pirelli, and also Michela Morese for their strong collaboration and support for making this event a reality. And I'd also like to thank our speakers, Rafaela Belanca and Velika Vorkapic online for their availability to be here today. So we know that by 2050, feeding a global population of almost 10 billion will require a radical transformation of how food is produced, processed, traded and consumed. Ensuring energy access for all and at every stage of agri-food systems is a critical dimension of this transformation. 30% of global energy is consumed by agri-food systems, and 1/3 of agri-food emissions come from energy. 12% of total food production is lost due to lack of effective refrigeration, amounting to 4% of global GHG emissions. Energy and efficient agri-food systems aggravate climate change, energy and food insecurity, while in 2021, 675 million people had no access to electricity and 2.3 billion had no access to clean cooking. However, renewable energy solutions and integrated food energy systems can directly advance energy and food security, while also contributing to job creation, gender equality, and climate resilience and adaptation. Increasing access to sustainable green energy solutions can serve as an entry point for providing an ecosystem of integrated services needed to drive rural transformation in geographically remote and isolated areas. We will hear today many examples of how energy access can promote and enhance food security and nutrition with a variety of approaches. After we've heard from our speakers, we'll have the opportunity to raise questions and discuss these approaches. So I encourage participants online to use the chat function to propose questions. We'll also use a Mentimeter to visualize our thoughts, so have your phones ready after the introductory presentations for that. So without further ado, I'll pass over to our first speaker, is Michela Morese from FAO, who will be giving us a pre-recorded presentation. Thank you. Just one moment, we don't appear to have any sound.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's such a pleasure for me to be here and give you an overview of how energy smart agri-food systems could really make a difference in terms of food security and nutrition. Food security, energy security, and climate change are really inseparable. So agri-food system, we know, need energy each step of the value chain. And energy is needed in order to bring our food from farm to fork. So we know that 30% of the world energy is used in agri-food systems. And this use of energy is producing in agri-food systems, is producing 31% of total GHG emissions. It means that energy plays an important role in agri-food systems. We know that of this 30% of the world energy which is used in agri-food systems, about 70% is used after the farm gate. So you see here that 30% of the energy used in agri-food systems is used here, and the remaining 70% is used here. So for transport, processes, storages, and others. And we know that by 2050, global population is expected to reach about 10 billion people, which means that more food, more energy, more water will be required in order to feed this increasing 10 billion population. This means that the agri-food systems need a radical transformation, and the radical transformation of the energy use in agri-food systems is equally important. But this also means that agriculture could be part of the solution in terms of energy security and combating climate change as well in terms of emissions. In light of this, FAO's work on energy smart agri-food systems is very important and is highly paying attention to these linkages between food security, energy security, and climate change. So we look at the entire value chain of agri-food systems. We look at how energy is used for agriculture in each and every step of the value chain. We also look at energy that comes from agriculture, so from feedstock, from use of residues. That's the case of sustainable bioenergy. And of course, we also look at the efficiency and the sustainability throughout the entire value chain. We said at the beginning, so energy, food, climate, they are strictly interlinked. And this is also true in terms of clean energy access is very essential for better nutrition, less food waste, and less emissions, as we've mentioned before. It's important to give some examples, numbers. We know that today more than 3 billion people can't afford a healthy diet. And partly this is due to the fact that access to clean energy is not strong enough throughout the agri-food systems. We know that about a third of food produced is lost or wasted after the farm gate. And with the food loss and waste, we also waste and lose the energy which was needed to produce that food. This means that energy smart solutions at each step of the value chain can make food more accessible, keep it fresh, nutritious for longer time, and reduce food loss and waste, and all the related emissions. So we would have win-win-win approach. We know that in this context, the sustainable food chain is an important part of these energy smart solutions. We've been working as FAO together with UNEP on a report. You see, the cover on the screen, a report on sustainable food chains. And we've also produced a video, animated video, 2-minute short animated video that will be showed during this side event later on. And we are happy that this report and video highlight the importance and the linkage between energy access, better nutrition, and the willingness to reduce food loss and waste and related emissions. Another important aspect in terms of energy smart solutions that have a positive impact in terms of nutrition security is also some applications of sustainable bioenergy. That's the case of byproducts like biochar and digestate that are used as organic fertilizers into the soil with all the positive effect on nutrition security that we know. And on this specific aspect, the FAO, in the context also of the Global Bioenergy Partnership, has developed recently a literature review on these linkages between bioenergy and nutrition security. This plan, this map gives you an idea of the current distribution of projects and activities that FAO is being developing all over the world, with projects and programs that goes from bioenergy potentials in various value chains in various countries, rather than energy food nexus, to guide investments and also bioenergy potential assessment, sustainable biogas from pig waste at farm level in the Solomon, or organic waste in Gambia. But you see on the screen a wide, variety of countries and focus of our project, not only on bioenergy, sustainable bioenergy, but also on other forms of renewable energy like solar and wind. As you may see, also we also host the Secretariat of the Global Bioenergy Partnership that I mentioned before for the literature review on the links between bioenergy and nutrition security, and attention that we pay on sustainable food cold chain with the number of activities, reports, and projects in countries. I don't go into the details of each of the projects because we don't have time, but it's useful to give some pieces of facts and figures. Comes out from the many projects that we have all over the world. Just to give the size of importance of bioenergy and renewable energy potentials in various countries, and the positive effects that these energy access could give in terms of food security, nutrition security, and climate action. In Rwanda and Zambia, for example, we've done studies in those two countries where agricultural waste and residues have revealed that could give access to clean cooking fuels to 12% more households in Zambia and 3% more households in Rwanda, which is very, very high in terms of potential. Sustainable food cold chain, the report I mentioned before. So we know that lack of effective refrigeration directly results in the loss of more than 500 million tons of food production, which is more or less 12% of the global total of production. So global loss and waste generate about 8-10% of GHG emissions, of anthropogenic GHG emissions, which a lot. So if food loss was a country, it could be the third largest emitter. So this means that food loss and waste, if these could be diminished to a better and more sustainable energy access, this could contribute to a huge reduction of emissions. Same applies to the work that we've done in India to reduce the risk of rice straw burning into the soil, into the field, with all the emissions that are connected to burning rice straw habits, let's say, and the use of rice straw for other production, other energy productions in terms of pellets, in terms of 2G ethanol, in terms of compressed biogas. And as a result, this would facilitate, would support the country to reach national bioenergy targets. In Azerbaijan, just investing less than $2 million to use chocolate briquettes from hazelnut would, instead of gas, could save more than 42,000 tons CO2 equivalent per year. In Uzbekistan, same application of renewable energy interventions just in 3 regions, just 4 value chains would contribute to reduce more than 110,000 tons CO2 equivalent per year. And also in Vietnam and Paraguay, where we have measured GVAP indicators, we've seen how in Vietnam, for example, there's the potential of GHG emission reduction compared to diesel of about 38% by using cassava-based ethanol and 42% using biogas from pig manure, and in Paraguay up to 40% using sugarcane-based ethanol. So we have a lot of good, great potentials where energy access, better and more sustainable, more modern, green energy access could give in terms of food security, energy security, and climate actions. This means that pursuing one goal, which is the SDG 7, would allow to achieve all the others. And that's the kind of willingness with which I would like to conclude my presentation, and thank you very much for your attention. Have a good continuation of these events. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michela, for that presentation, and she regrets that she can't be with us today. She's in Thailand at the moment at another event. So thank you very much for that introduction. And now I will pass over to Raffaella, who will be talking about community-based approaches to energize rural transformation. Over to you, Raffaella.
Voila. So we heard just now how energy is so intimately related to food security. WFP works with food as FIO, and therefore the energy access work that we do at WFP is focused around food security. Let me dive in the work that we do and the potential that we have. So WFP works in emergencies, responding to all sorts of disasters. At the same time, we also work with sustainable development to manage food security in the long term. So last year, we reached 160 million people in 120 countries with food assistance. Oh. Up. Prima, voila. Okay, sorry about that. So the work with emergencies and then farmers as well, nearly 1 million farmers in 44 countries. And then we work with schools, providing school meals. And last year we reached 20 million school children in 59 countries. If we could mainstream energy access through all of our operations, the impact would be huge. The sectors that we address, as I was saying, are cooking, particularly in households and schools, but also energy access along the food value chain in our work with smallholder farmers. So providing energy to power agricultural activities. These are numbers from last year results specifically on energy. So we had 18 countries with work on energy. Here you can see, well, 1.6 million people were reached with energy services or products. Lots of the work was around cook stoves, so 137,000 for the households and over 10,000 in almost 1,000 schools. And the smallholder farmers, as I was saying, in which case has been mainly around water pumps, solar water pumps and dryers. So the nexus between energy and water for us has been clear last year, as so many countries that you see listed here have resorted to solar irrigation to counteract the impacts of climate that raises the unpredictability of rainfall and makes it necessary to have other means of irrigating the fields. But water is critical in many other applications. So here you have an example in Armenia with greenhouses, so drip irrigation in greenhouses. Again, you have water and food. In Kenya, this is a project where we used water to refrigerate, so it's through evaporative cooling. And then, of course, in biodigestion, also you need water. Biodigestion is so important because not only is producing energy, but is also producing sludge that is highly fertilizing and can substitute fossil fuel-based fertilizers. So you'll hear more about this work from my colleagues that will dive in depth in an example from Madagascar later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Raffaella. It's a really good introduction to the water, energy, food nexus there. And based on these two introductory presentations, we're now going to do a Mentimeter so that we can visualize some of our thoughts on access to energy and food security. So if you'd all like to go to menti.com, I think Matteo will be able to show you now the code on the screen, but let me also say it out loud. The code is 35109264. And there you should be able to insert your responses to the question, how can energy access enhance food security and nutrition? And we'll just have 1 minute for responses, so please go ahead. I'll also do the same. Okay, so we're already receiving a few responses here. Some are more specific to value chains. So, for example, water sanitization or enhanced efficiency. But we also have some more broad answers here, including inclusivity, obviously extremely important, affordability. Here we also have access to irrigation, enhanced clean cooking, and productive uses of energy. Just wait for another few seconds before continuing. We already have 9 responses, so. Well, maybe that might be it, but please keep on adding onto the word wall, and we'll be able to share that with you all afterwards, and maybe we can have a discussion about it during the discussion session at the end. So please carry on in case you've not had enough time. So now moving on, we'll be looking at the video that Michela Morese briefly mentioned in her introductory slides on sustainable cold chains, which is an animated video jointly produced by FAO and UNEP. So we'll watch that now. Thank you, Matteo.
Every year, we produce more than enough food to feed everyone on the planet. So why are millions of people still going to bed hungry and millions of small-scale farmers still living in poverty? While the reasons are complex, one of the many critical issues to be addressed is food loss and waste. Around 14% of food is lost before it reaches consumers, while 17% is wasted at consumer level every year. This also means less income for farmers and fewer opportunities to improve livelihoods. Where is it all going wrong? One reason is the lack of effective cold chains, which in simple terms means keeping food fresh from farm to fork. Perishable foods must be kept in a cool, temperature-controlled environment throughout the journey from production, aggregation and storage, processing, marketing and distribution, all the way to our plates. This temperature-controlled supply chain of food is called the food cold chain. But cooling technologies can consume a lot of electricity, still largely generated from fossil fuels. Some continue to use ozone-depleting substances, ODSs, or hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs, which are powerful greenhouse gases. Today, cold chains contribute towards around 4% of global GHG emissions, which impact climate change and food production. Lack of access to food cold chains impacts food security, livelihoods, and limits access to markets. Without sustainable cooling solutions, our health, food, and livelihoods are at risk. So what's being done to improve the food cold chain? In 1987, nations came together to sign the Montreal Protocol to help save the ozone layer. This involved phasing out ODSs in various sectors, including cooling technologies. Under its Kigali Amendment, nations committed to phasing down HFCs while also addressing energy efficiency issues. And in 2019, the Rome Declaration called on governments, organizations, and private initiatives to collaborate on building sustainable food cold chain solutions. FAO and UNEP believe this can be achieved by improving access to energy for cooling along the food value chain, developing and gathering data, improving technical capacity, updating policies, implementing efficiency improvements, and financing new business models for upscaling. Sustainable food cold chains will help us work towards the SDGs by creating a healthier planet, supporting farmers and fishers' livelihoods, and ensuring more nutritious food reaches everyone's plates.
I think that video nicely highlights there the really importance of cold chains along agricultural supply chains. And it's something that works with a lot of different renewable technology options, so it's extremely interesting there. I also encourage you to read the report related to the video, which gives a lot more details on some of the technological options. So now I would like to introduce our next speaker, who is a colleague and friend from ECOWAS, from the Economic Commission for West African States, Basau. He's the executive director of the commission. Of the committee, and he will today be talking to us about sustainable energy for enhancing circular economy that positively impacts on food security and nutrition. Bar's joining us online. I can already see you there. Hi, Bar. Please feel free to share your screen.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Right, okay. Sorry, let me just share my screen. And thank you very much for this opportunity. As you said, my name is Basaho, and I work with ECOWAS as the principal program officer for energy access and alternative energy. Now, I don't know, can you see my screen? I hope it is full screen, I hope.
We can see it, just put it in presentation mode.
Yeah, slideshow.
Fantastic,
okay.
That's perfect.
Thank you very much. So I want to thank the previous speakers who were before me, and then I think they have done a wonderful job, Michaela and co. And in my presentation, I want to highlight some of the activities that we are doing in particular, how energy access, sustainable energy access in particular, can safeguard food security and nutrition gains within the agro-food industry. So let me first of all show maybe some viewers about the ECOWAS region. For those who may not know the facts, of course, we are in the western part of Africa. And here you can see some figures relating to the population, which is over 350 million now. And then the area is as huge as 5 million square kilometers. And then what is plaguing the region is actually the access to electricity in particular and energy in general, which is almost around 50–60%. And of course, that is affecting the economic growth. And then you can see the low per capita GDP, which is just over 2,000 USD. But certainly we have some renewable energy installed or sustainable energy installed, which is not quite, which is about 26%. However, the potential for renewable energy in general is quite huge. For electricity, it's almost estimated at 32%. So moving forward into one of the thoughts that came out is that while serving in ECRI, that's the ECOWAS Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, is the concept of sustainable energy for circular economy. And here I would want to stress more on the circular energy concept using sustainable energy and how it can transform or enhance, the agro-food industry. And of course, sustainable energy cannot be mentioned without including bioenergy, which is bioelectricity or biogas, biochar, bioethanol, briquettes, and so on and so forth. And of course, including other forms of sustainable energy, such as solar, wind, the green hydrogen, and energy efficiency. So the concept is that we have to use this particular or these sustainable energy services or access, which we have been doing. However, what we have realized in our analysis, after evaluation, is that the people will have these energy services or energy access. However, what is not factored in is the productive use. Mostly the services or the access is provided for social use, lighting, and maybe other small industries. But then bringing in productive use for agricultural purposes in particular, whether it is animal or poultry or agriculture in general or aquaculture or horticulture, brings in a lot of value. Because when you have the sustainable energy, we believe that it should be brought in to incorporate productive use for lighting, not only for lighting, but for clean cooking and heating, for refrigeration, as it was highlighted earlier, for preservation of food and other agro products, water pumping to enhance agricultural productivity. So once that is done from the production stage, then you go into the transportation and transformation, which are, of course, of the produce, of the farm produce, in order to, as highlighted earlier, in order to reduce farm losses, the processing of the produce, whether and the preservation, which has already been highlighted, and as well as the transformation of the waste, once there is production, there is transportation, there is consumption, then there will be waste. The food, whether it is going to be food waste or human consumed waste, can be turned into biogas, can be transformed into bioelectricity, biochar, bioethanol, or other bioenergy products. And of course, what the whole process means is that in a particular setup, particularly in the rural and peri-urban areas, you will realize that there is energy for productive use, for agricultural production, and there is economic and wealth creation, because market is established, other economic and social services such as telecommunication, schools, health delivery, and all those things. You have sale of produce, from agriculture, with sale of biofertilizer, as we will see later, fish, meat, milk, and so on and so forth. So this creates wealth in a rural or peri-urban setup. And then, of course, it will also provide the means for the population in those areas to be able to have the resources to be able to pay for the services, for the energy access. So the cycle goes on. So let us look at a particular instance in the case of biogas, where we have, bioenergy circular economy activity. So as indicated earlier, wherever you start from, whether it is from the agricultural production where you do not have the energy, of course you have the food where you will have the consumption that will increase food security, and then from the food security, then you have the waste that you can transform into biogas, which you can use for various energy access applications. And then, of course, the byproduct of that, the effluent, is a natural fertilizer, which can go on to enhance, agricultural productivity. And of course, here you have the various benefits, for this particular example of biogas, which can also apply to bioelectricity, biochar, bioethanol, and so on and so forth. Before concluding, I know I have only 7 minutes. I just want to indicate that within the ECOWAS region and at ECRI, that's ECOWAS Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, we have what you call the ECOWAS Bioenergy Program that hopes to improve food and energy services through the deployment of sustainable criteria that have been developed, of course, with the by GBEP, in the production, transformation, and utilization of biomass resources to contribute to sustainable energy for all initiative. And of course, we have also this WACA, that is the West Africa Clean Cooking Alliance, and the bioenergy program complements WACA. And then these are some milestones that have been achieved so far, including the promulgation of the ECOWAS policy on bioenergy, so that is already available, which has the objective that I cited above. I think I would want to stop there, and thank you all very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Ba. Extremely interesting presentation. I already noted down quite a few questions for you in the discussion session, so be ready for those.
Thank you.
So now we're going to go on to our second presentation from WFP, from our colleagues in Madagascar. And before Frederica gives us the presentation, we will watch a short video on the rapid rural transformation model in Madagascar. So please.
Madagascar is at the sharp end of the climate crisis, battered by repeated cyclones, floods, and frequent episodes of drought.
Fijalang tinahaso na, sinisirano nurang, ni pese-pese pa sa hay. Panijala pa Satia mirerere sa hara mandrene mi pai haning sakafo ang alele mi hinang tirahatau di dendra ketangarune ti hane. Lisakui le manda hatundanga mi sara manundra ke manrusi chakakui mi sai. Dito yan kasi ito. So ai mire saka arabula sa mi mambule taka sa na ne keule angu ai rai ke iule mambule kara manukang kale ikara kara kutiana kwa hiana ratiana kuka hina na kuhani hiveluma.
Most important thing of what we are doing right now is that it is giving back the hope to the people.
Fahatelo mahazo tombo raha satria tsy mandeha lavitra fa mariny ahy ndraiky tsy lany fotoagna raha fa tombontsoa ho azy fa satria tsy lany fotoagna fa mariny ahy eky tsy azo fivalagna tiana ay tiako honako tsy mandany vola raha an-hôpitaly agny tombontsoa ho ahy managna tahiry raha araky fahasalamana.
This is really a game changer for the life of these people, and they are better prepared to face the next drought, next climate shocks that they might have.
Faharoa izay hahita any amin'ny tanàna ivelagny. Ho hita ay aby io ary helatsy ty say ay ndra tiana ay hivelatsy satria hiarigna amity fahalalagna fa tsy hiarigna amity mahataloha.
Come rain, come shine. These villages in southern Madagascar now have a fighting chance to withstand shocks.
Okay, so without me saying much about that, I will let Federica Andreamanantena from WFP in Madagascar to give us some more details, and please go ahead with your presentation, Federica. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I think the video showed a little bit of a sneak peek of what I'm going to share with you from this experience that we are running in Madagascar on rapid rural transformation. I don't know, I'm trying to make it, yeah, there you go. So just to give you a little bit of context on the situation in Madagascar, from the latest IPC analysis for September, we have now, in terms of food insecure people, about 1,080,000 people experiencing high food insecurity in southern Madagascar, the southern part of the country being the area here in yellow and orange. And orange means that these are IPC level 3 district. So this is the context where WFP is working, and on the specific concern for electrifications, these areas of the southern part of Madagascar have quite low density of population, which exclude them from the national grid projects, which will be unprofitable in these areas. And even the planned mini grids there are a couple of those right now in the country, but those mini grids are still targeting larger administrative centers, which exclude again the smaller villages where WFP is working, supporting those food insecurity response activities. And in those context of smaller villages, low purchasing power is seen, and it seems to be a barrier for private sector investor to invest into electricity access for those communities. And where there are existing mini grids, they are still powered by diesel generators. So that's where WFP came with the solution to bring to those remote and small villages decentralized solar hubs with low infrastructure investment, and aiming to provide energy and services to the communities that were excluded from those projects. So basically, the objectives of the rapid rural transformation model is towards the agenda of WFP to support the change in lives perspective, and with the idea to transform food system through different entry points. First could be around, of course, agriculture development, to make it an attractive activity especially for the young people. And the access to electricity also brings some entrepreneurship facilitation for young people still. And these are activities that they could develop by themselves just by having access to those electricity. And the space that is offered through the hubs also allows implementation of other type of services, including financial service providers, or even a location for savings groups, community savings group to gather and to manage their activities. It has been also seen to be an opportunity for different public services in Madagascar to deploy services to make those services accessible closer to the community, including social registration, for example, installing along the hubs some kiosk or space connected to internet, or having electricity to allow those community in the remote areas to access those to also being able to access public services. And for young people and small children, it's also an opportunity to learn through digital support access, and even for smaller farmers to have access to information for climate services or extension services. And as I said, the project is around the provision of this off-grid green energy solution, solar powered, and enabling the productive use of electricity for those communities often excluded from the regular grid or access, and building around the nexus of water, energy, and food to support more innovative agricultural production with rational use of water and food conservation around those hubs. These are specific technical details about the house, but I'm not gonna go too much in details about it. You can read it from the screen, and you can see here how it looks like in the field within those communities. But since this hubs or this solution is brought to the community and to an ecosystem of existing initiatives or existing regulation, it is not meant for WFP to just implement by itself. It is built on partnerships, and it is meant to enable as much services as possible. And that's where WFP is working with, first of all, the community, supporting the capacity, the local capacity to manage the energy and all the services around the hubs as in a business-oriented model for its sustainability, and bringing in also local private companies to support in terms of maintenance and longer-term perspectives. And since there's a new source of energy that is available for the community, the idea is also to generate the most activities possible for them to increase incomes. And these are work that we are doing with other UN agencies as well, other ministries. Of course, supporting agriculture activities is being done with the ministries involved, but also for private buyers, private sectors who are interested into buying the local produce from around those hubs. The digital component part is very much useful and of interest for the education side, and being used by the Ministry of Education as a showcase for new design digital programs, and also used by the National Office for Nutrition to share the new policies on diversified nutrition and nutrition improvement for the country. Well, a couple of other integrated services that can be developed through the hubs, including water management and the digital access to public services, which is one of the landmark program of the Madagascar government right now. So very much interested to showcase those initiatives, innovations through those hubs within those communities in the most probably remote areas of the countries. Maybe quick words on what our plans now for the future. This initiative has been started in 2021, but now we are expanding. We have now 4 implemented hubs, and we are expanding to double this at least, and also expanding to have more modularized type of kits to adjust to the needs for specific value chains, for example, or just for water access, or depends on the needs of the communities. And we are exploring different, well, as I said, technical designs around that. Maybe the container part is not necessary in some areas, so we are adjusting this kind of approach and models. But the idea is also to explore as much as possible as the more business models around the kits that can be explored depending on the context, and we have this opportunity to have, even if these are all almost remote areas, they all have different contexts. So we are exploring different adjustments according to the context. And also the management approach is been diversified along the way, but the main, all these adjustments are meant to design the most sustainable and the most the ownership for the community. I think is the main the guiding principle around the approach, and we are building along the way the sustainable model according to the context for those communities. I'm gonna stop here. I'm not sure if now it's time for questions, but I'll be around for the next round of questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Federica, for that extremely interesting presentation. So I definitely have some questions, but I think we'll do the question and answer session at the end after our final speaker. So I would encourage anyone online who has any questions to write them in the chat, and we'll be able to get to them at the end of the session. So now I would like to invite our final speaker, who's joining us again online, Veliko Vorkapic from the FAO Energy team, who will be talking about renewable energy for agri-food systems in Rwanda. So Veliko, over to you.
Good morning. Let me just share the screen if it's fine.
We can see it. I'm not sure whether it's the first slide, but there we go. Perfect.
Good morning. I will present the results of bioenergy and food security assessment that we conducted for Rwanda. So the aim and the scope of the BESS assessment was to investigate the availability of agricultural and forestry residues in order to produce modern bioenergy and improve access to energy, especially in the rural areas, to support the implementation of national bioenergy strategy and to contribute to the reduction of GHG emission and achievement of the national NDCs. So bioenergy and food security assessment contains several steps. First, we provide overview of a national context and overview of different feedstock options. This is followed by the assessment of feedstock availability and then techno-economic analysis of different bioenergy options. In the case of Rwanda, the biomass assessment component involved the availability assessment of crop residues suitable for bioenergy production from both small-scale, large-scale farmers and agro-processing industries. In the case of livestock residues, we consider the production of manure from cattle, pigs, and chicken, both at a household level and at a commercial level. And in the case of woody residues, we considered availability of forest harvesting residues and wood processing residues. So regarding the methodology used, we obtained official statistical data on agricultural production and forestry. In addition, we conducted technical consultations with local national experts and also telephone and field surveys to obtain information on management practices and current use of considered feedstock in order not to compete with current uses of these feedstocks. So the quantities of different crop residues and livestock manure were estimated at a district level in tons per year. So the darker the shade of a district in the map, the more crop and livestock residues are available for the bioenergy production. So some concluding remarks regarding biomass assessment. In the case of the crop residues, so the major part of the crop residues is already being used as feed or for green fertilization or for other material uses. Small-scale farmers dominate the potential supplier as potential suppliers of biomass, and the highest availability of biomass was found in banana residues, cassava residues, maize stalk, and potato peels. For the livestock manure, the cattle manure showed the highest share in the total manure produced, and also small-scale farmers dominate the production. In the case of pig manure, several districts show certain potential, and for the chicken manure, the highest potential was found in large-scale industrial farms which have been built in Rwanda in the recent period. For the woody residues, the all available resource is already being used, so there is no additional potential for bioenergy production from this feedstock. As a part of the second of this assessment, techno-economic assessment of different of grid electricity and cooking technologies was carried out. So in the case of off-grid electricity, information on the cost and energy characteristics of crop residues was required for the assessment. We considered two technologies, gasification and combustions for the production of electricity, which is then supplied to households through mini-grid systems. So the energy potential for off-grid electricity production was estimated at a district level, and on average it amounted to the capacity of 256 megawatts. Total investment needs to deploy this potential were estimated at around 187 million US dollars. So to put these figures in relation to one of Rwanda's energy target, which is that all households will have moderate access to electricity service by 2030. So the bioenergy produced could contribute to 84% of this target in the case of rural households. Regarding cooking options, the techno-economic assessment included crop residues and livestock residues as a feedstock, so different technologies were considered. Carbonization for the production of charcoal, production of briquettes and pellets, and anaerobic digestion for the production of biogas. So the assessment showed that the production and use of pellets for cooking would be the most viable option. So again, in relation to clean, sustainable cooking target, which aims that 100% of households to have access to efficient cooking stalls, bioenergy produced from pellets could contribute 32% of this target. So some concluding remarks regarding techno-economic assessment. In the case of off-grid electricity, gasification and combustion are cost-effective options under the Rwandan context. It might be possible to reach combined generation capacity of 256 megawatts, and depending on the household energy demand, the potential number of households that can get served with this potential might range from 200,000 to 8.6 million. And the investment needed to deploy this potential is estimated at around 160 million US dollars. In the case of cooking options, pellets are the most cost-effective technology for cooking fuels. For the biogas, due to low feedstock availability, the potentially profitable biogas contribution is marginal. It might be possible to reach combined energy potential of above 30,000 terajoules per year, and this might be with this it might be possible to supply to 1.3 million households using sustainable pellets and biogas, and total investment needed to deploy this potential would be around 32 million US dollars. So in short, these are results of our assessment. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Veliko, for that extremely interesting presentation. I know that the analysis in Rwanda was very detailed, and you gave some really good conclusions there. So now we're going to go on to our question and answer session. I'd ask Matteo, could you please put the chat up on the screen so that I can see if there's any questions from online. Before we start taking audience questions, both online and in the room, I'll go ahead with some of the questions that I came up with as we were talking. So this is a question, I guess, both for Raffaella and also for Federico online, whoever would like to take it. You talked a little bit about innovative business models and financing solutions for the rapid rural transformation model. And I wonder what you think these options could be to design a sustainable economic model to improve the water, energy, food nexus.
Thank you. Yeah, as Federica was saying, this is perhaps the most important aspect that we would like to explore. The technology obviously is nothing new, so really the approach to make these solutions sustainable, so the energy delivery model is what counts. And of course WFP is working with the poorest of the poor. Therefore, a fully market-based approach might not be possible everywhere. But with the market-based, what I mean is that there are two aspects. One is the end users paying for the services, and this could be at least partially the case. The other aspect is the energy services to be provided by the market dynamics. So that's the important part that needs to be built up, and as Federica was explaining, we are experimenting with the different energy services, so the welding rather than all sorts of other services that provide income. So we are lucky with energy because food, you give it and that's it. But energy, it's not a cost, it's an investment. So if you are able to build a business model that enables people through energy to increase their income, it means that there is a return on investment and therefore it all makes economic sense.
Federica, did you want to add anything on what Raffaella said?
Well, I think she covered the essential part of it. I just wanted to maybe also emphasize on the role of the government in the model that we are trying to develop. As there's the market, there's the end user, but I mean, we're bringing services and infrastructure to some part of the population there were underserved or in a bit excluded by the larger program of the government. So now the government is also partnering in this initiative to complement the design that we are implementing within the private sector, within the community, but the government also wants its part in it in a sense that they are bringing their own inputs in those model. And I think even just in terms of regulations of the energy market, this could be influential in the model that we are exploring and developing. That's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I mean, we see a lot of times that the government is instrumental also to create the market environment for these sustainable solutions. So thank you very much. I'd like to, if there's any questions from the audience, we'll be happy to take them. If not, I will carry on with, yeah, please. Do we have a microphone, or how do we? No, I'm just thinking for the people online, otherwise they won't be able to hear you.
Hi, my name's Alex Copper from Australia. My question was for the last speaker, just in regard to the crop residues in terms of just producing biogas. Did you, or have you looked at maybe fermenting the crop residues first to extract alcohol for fuel additives prior to biogas, or using just fermentation? Is that more energy efficient than converting to biogas?
No, we didn't include like fermentation production of bioethanol. So yeah, we were only considering production of pellets, briquettes, charcoal, and biogas from the manure and more wet residues. So no, we didn't consider, because the quantities were pretty small for like production of bioethanol, for example, and that would be, we would need a larger production for that, yeah, and larger base, feedstock base, yeah. But in other like assessment which was done for the like bioenergy and food security assessments, they included some assessments where it was possible, or where they assess is it feasible or viable to produce also ethanol from different feedstock. But that was more for the like secondary residues from processing plants, yeah. So where at one place you have more concentrated and available feedstock options, yeah.
If there aren't any more questions, I have another short follow-up question to Veliko on that. I wondered, looking at your presentation, you said that smallholders or small-scale farms were dominant, and I wondered what kind of impact that had on the availability of feedstocks.
So it had an impact because it was like, it's easier to collect feedstock if you have a large farms where you can collect a significant amount of feedstock from one place. So the cost of the collection would increase. So the feedstock would be, if you're collecting from the larger number of small farms, the collection costs and transportation costs for the production of bioenergy are higher. So yeah, it would be more easy and more profitable to produce the bioenergy from collecting the feedstock from a couple of larger farms, or one farm, or the processing plants which has lots of feedstock already concentrated at one place. So yeah, so if you are working with a large number of small farmers, the collection and transportation costs are much more significant, yeah. And it's more difficult also to use mechanization to collect, for example, straw or everything, if you have small fields on which you are working on, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's looking at the environment and the context in terms of the size of farms is always an important consideration, especially for the economic sustainability of these value chains. So I'd like to also come to Bar with a question as well. I mean, you've mentioned in your presentation that some of these types of interventions have been implemented with little success in the past. And I wonder what the underlying principles could be for successful interventions in the future in terms of sustainable energy.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. What I realize is that most of the time we have been implementing projects, particularly in developing countries and Africa in general, through perhaps gifts that are not normally backed up with any activity that comes with it, or if they have to pay for service. And then a lot of models are coming up like pay as you go, you know, these days. So meaning that, as the saying goes, there is no free lunch anymore. So when these projects are implemented, there has to be a mechanism where people have to pay for the services. So in this way, you know, it is the energy access is, you know, run as a utility, and then of course the agri sector or other economic activities, are already, in the form of business. So it has to be a business, a very good business model. And then, it is not, a charity where nobody takes care of the system, particularly the energy, infrastructure that is put in place. So effectively what I'm saying is everything has to be done as an economic model. It has to be based on, the economics. The true cost of production has to be, catered for so that, the system continues running and providing services. Thank you.
Thanks so much, but I think that actually really nicely plays into what we were talking with Rafael and Frederica earlier about creating these economic models that work, and maybe even in the poorest of the poor, adding this component of paying for services in some way enhances the buy-in. Would you agree with that, Rafaela?
Yeah, no, absolutely. As we were saying, it's energy is meant to, for productive uses, is meant to increase the revenues, and therefore part of it can be, in view of scaling up these solutions, must be based on an economic model that actually works. And as Frederica was saying, the role of the government is super important. Some services will be offered to the citizens for free, water or other things, but others will need to be paid for.
So the time has really flown by. If there are no more, I don't see any more questions in the chat. So if there are no more questions in the room, I'll just go into some brief concluding remarks. So we saw today that energy is essential for food security and development, and access to energy in many developing countries is a fundamental barrier to reducing hunger and ensuring that the world can produce enough food to meet future demand. However, food security and nutrition can be safeguarded by ensuring access to sustainable energy in all areas of agri-food systems. This ranges from energy for irrigation and agro-processing to cold chains for transport and storage of safe, nutritious food, all the way to clean cooking in the households. However, agri-food systems are associated with large GHG emissions, and so renewable energy offers the opportunity to address the challenge of decoupling fossil fuel use from food system energy needs and contributing to climate action. This side event gave an overview of concrete examples and opportunities for energy smart systems to contribute to food security and nutrition, enhance the resilience of communities, and also contribute to sustainable development. I'd like to thank again all of our co-organisers for today's event, and also our speakers and our participants as well for the discussion session. Thank you very much and have a lovely rest of the day. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for organising.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.